Good evening, everyone. I hope I'm audible to everyone. So please let me know if I'm not audible. So am I audible? I need at least one or two yes.
Audible, sir.
Okay. Okay. So how many of you have moved from React, and how many of you have just starting Node.js without the front end? Like, who knows React up to now? Bhumika, do you know React?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay, so you did that in Acube itself, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Sharmila, do you know React or front end?
Oh, yes, sir. I attended React and Acube itself, but I took a break for around 1 or 1.5 months. I remember a few things.
Sure. No worries, no worries. I'm just trying to know how many of you know front end. Okay, so Srivatsa.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, sure. So let's just continue. And I hope everyone else knows about the front end. Okay, so what we are going to study for almost 2 months now would be backend. Okay, so a front end is what exactly? What do we do in front end? Anybody can answer this? Maybe Srivatsa. So what do we do in front end?
So we will create some no headings. We have
Okay. Bhumika, can you try? So what do we do in front end?
We create websites and applications using HTML, CSS, JavaScript,
Okay, what do we call that process as?
designing and functionality.
Okay, so front end is all about building UI, right? User interface, which works in a browser mainly, right? And a browser can only understand HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Clear? So a front end developer builds UI. Clear? Okay, he don't design. A front end developer usually develops a website's UI. Clear? Okay. So now what does a backend developer do, right? So the backend developer's job mainly is to write server-side program. Clear? So I will just take a Word file here and I will write down main points here itself, and I will send you this file itself. You don't have to write it down. Okay. So a backend developer usually does one thing, who basically writes and maintains a server program. I will just save this itself. Sorry. So is my screen visible?
Yes.
Is this big enough, or shall I make it even more bigger? Maybe I will make it even bigger. Okay. Okay. So a backend of basically writes and maintains a server program. Here, we should definitely know what a server is, right? So can anybody say what a server is? Anybody knows? It's fine. Okay. So I'll just show you a diagram here. Okay. Is the diagram visible?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So a server is nothing but a computer connected to internet, which serves some kind of resources. That's it. Okay. So server itself says that it basically serves you something, some resources from through internet. Clear? Okay. So why will it serve? Because a client will request something and server will analyze that request and sends you a response. That is what a server job is basically. Okay. So I'll just write down here, and this picture you need to remember. Okay. So maybe I'll just copy this thing. Okay, so in order to understand what server does, you need to understand what client is, what server is, of course, this database itself. Okay, so this whole thing is basically client server architecture. I will definitely discuss the entire thing one step by step. Okay, so a client usually sends a request. Let's say you are trying to open your Facebook page, right? So what do? A client is nothing but a simple browser in your desktop or a mobile or any device, right? So a client is nothing but a simple browser right now. Okay. So what do you do if you want to have a Facebook account of your own profile, right? So first you enter a URL called as facebook.com. That is nothing but you're trying to access a server of Facebook. Give me a minute. Sorry. Okay. So a client basically sends a request to the server, and this server will analyze this request and sends a response back. Okay. The same way here you try to enter an URL called as facebook.com. Okay. So that is facebook.com is nothing but a simple web address, okay, of a server, Facebook server. Okay. So there will be something else. I just want to draw one more thing here that will make this picture even more better. So there's one more server. This server is called as a DNS server. Okay, so DNS basically means domain name servers. Okay, a domain name server. So this domain name server will basically give you actual server address. Okay, so a client, when it enters a facebook.com, it's a simple domain name. It's not actually the address of a server. Okay, you need an actual address of the server in the internet. So that's why a client, as soon as it says facebook.com, it will go and look it up in the DNS, finds you the proper address of the server, and sends you back. Okay, so once you get the proper server address, there you'll try to ask for the Facebook page. Okay, and this Facebook server will try to analyze what you have requested. It will go through what you have requested, what page, what photo you have requested for. So that's how it looks it up in the request. And it sends a proper response back, right? And sometimes the server will not have the data that you need. The data will be usually stored in the database, right? So server will try to analyze the request, and if any data is needed, it will fetch it from the database and send it as a response. Clear? So this is called as a client server architecture, how these things work together, right? A request and a response. Now, what is the job of the server? I hope you guys should be clear by now. A server job is to send a response for a request, right? And a backend developer will try to write this server program which analyzes the request and tries to connect with the database. And if this request needs some kind of data, it will fetch from the database. The server programmer must know how to deal with the database as well. And finally, you should send a response back. That's his job. Clear? So this server program can be written in many languages. Okay, so I'll just give you guys some examples here. It's not always just NodeJS through which you can write server programs. There are multiple languages through which you can write server programs. So the famous one is again the Java. You can use Java. You can use Python. Okay, so right now we are going to use JavaScript itself in order to write the server program. So JavaScript. Clear? I hope the things are clear up until here. Do you anybody have doubts up to here? You can raise your hands or ask questions. So what is the role of a backend developer now? Kavya. So what do you think the role of a backend developer is? You should be able to write the server program which needs to analyze the request, and if anything need to be derived from the database, you should be able to talk to database, and you should be able to send a proper response back. That is the job of a backend developer. That's it. Clear? Okay, so now, as I said before, a server program, a backend program can be written in Java, Python, or JavaScript, any language, and we are going to use JavaScript. That should be clear. Okay, so one more thing. When we say JavaScript, usually JavaScript in the olden days, it would run only in the browsers. It was meant to run only in the browsers, right? It could not run standalone outside the browser, right? In the olden days. That's why JavaScript was used only to write front-end program, right? But these days, meaning from almost 10 years, we have many JavaScript runtimes. Basically, they run JavaScript outside the browsers, standalone. So there are there are many JavaScript runtimes, three main, and the thing that we are going to use is the Node.js. Okay, so firstly, we understood what a backend developer does, what actually backend is, how it is, right? So the second thing that we are trying to understand is we are going to write server program in JavaScript, but it's going to run in server, not in the browser. So we need a JavaScript runtime, and the runtime that we are going to use is the Node.js. Okay, it's clearly written here. Okay, you can observe a Node.js is a free and open source and a cross-platform JavaScript runtime. Everybody can see my screen, right?
Yes, I can see.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let me know if my screen goes off. You can see the Node.js tab itself, right? Hello? So you guys can see the Node.js tab?
Yes, sir.
Okay, sure. Okay, so it's written here. It's an open source, free. Anybody can install Node.js in their personal computer and use that to run JavaScript. Okay, so a JavaScript runtime is nothing but a platform where you can run your JavaScript. That's it. Okay. Okay, so now you can click on this download Node.js. The first requirement to write your backend program is Node.js because it will run your JavaScript. Whatever the program that you write in JavaScript, it will run it for you. Okay, so just click on this, and by default, it gives you LTS, meaning long-term support. Okay, so that is more than enough. Just open it here and you can install it. Okay, I have already installed my Node.js. You guys can install it. And if you guys face any problem with this installation, you guys can contact me personally as well. Okay, so one thing that I want you guys to assure is that you guys have to add this Node.js to the environment variable. Okay, so you might not know it. You can find that in YouTube as well. Or once you install it, okay, follow the steps. It's very easy steps. Once you install that, you can try to find command prompt here. Okay, just type node hyphen v. Sorry, hyphen v. Okay, so as soon as you do this, it will give you version of the Node.js that has been installed. If this is not given, meaning your Node.js is not installed properly, or the something is missing, like you have to add your Node.js to the environment variable. That is the thing. Okay. Okay. So everything clear till here? So the first requirement, the first thing that you learned in this class is what a backend developer does. So he basically writes and maintains a server program. Then what is a server? Right? A server basically a computer connected in internet, right? And what is a server program? A server program basically analyzes a request that comes from a client and sends a response back. And if this request needs some kind of data, then a server program must connect with the database, fetch the data, and send it to the client. Clear? Okay, so the third thing that we wanted to that we discussed is we write this server program in JavaScript. Okay, but JavaScript runs only in browser in the olden days. So if you want to run it in your server machine, then you need to install a JavaScript runtime, a famous JavaScript runtime, which is Node.js. Okay, we will definitely dive deep into Node.js as well, standalone JavaScript runtime program. But right now, we don't need to worry too much about the Node.js itself. We worry mainly about the backend concepts, like how the backend program is. How do we write it in JavaScript? Not exactly how we execute it. Okay, that will be taken care by the Node.js itself. We don't have to worry about the Node.js too much. We will just simply start writing program in JavaScript, and Node.js will take care of executing it. Clear? Okay, so, and I want you guys to install Node.js as well. And how do you check whether your Node.js has been installed? You will check it by checking its version, node-v. Okay, it will give you the Node.js version. Okay. Okay, so now let me just run some JavaScript code here. If you just type node and hit enter, okay, so you can already see welcome to Node.js. Okay, so you can get help by typing this, or this is called as something called as a REPL, meaning read, evaluate, print loop. You don't need to worry about that. It basically takes a command. Okay, like let's say 3 plus 4 or 3 plus 3. It gives you 6 and it's ready to ask you the next question. Okay, in the next command or next statement. Okay. Okay, so it's basically takes JavaScript commands or JavaScript statements. You can enter any JavaScript statements here. Console.log 10 plus 20, it will log that 30. Okay, so I hope I'm clear. So this is basically how it works. But now we are going to create a backend program, right? We don't want to run small commands like this. We are going to write complex programs in a script. And how do we run that? Using Node, right? That is what we are interested in right now. Okay, so let me open my VS Code, because that is VS Code is a standard uh, text editor for Node.js, for any web development program, right? So I'm going to open a folder here. So I don't want to go talk about the VS Code because you guys are all familiar about it, right? So I will just create, I think I have a folder here called as Node.js class, but I'm going to create a different folder. So Node evening. Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to create our first server program, okay, using Node.js, meaning just JavaScript, and I will run it using Node.js. Okay, so I will just create a folder here and call it as first server program. Okay, so this is the project, first server program. Okay, so here I don't have anything right now, no files, no folders. Okay, so how do we create a Node.js project? I want you guys to listen very carefully about this, because this is the starting point. Okay, so this is how we actually create every single Node.js project from scratch. Okay, I will definitely talk about this again and again and again, but I want you guys to listen to it from the first itself. Okay, so I want you guys to open the command prompt or the integrated terminal, right? So here we are now inside the Node evenings folder, right? So I want to move into the project folder here, which is first server program, right? So how do we move? By entering the command cd and F and hit tab. So we have the first server program folder, right? Here I want to run a simple command called as npm init. So you already know what npm is, right? If you are using React or front-end libraries, which is basically JavaScript libraries, npm is the one which serves you all the libraries directly to your modules or packages, right? So npm basically means a node package manager. It will try to keep track of all the packages that you install or you want to install, all those things, right? So there is a command called as npm init. This will create a special file called as package.json. Okay, so just hit enter. Observe here, it says a lot. So this utility will walk you through creating a package.json file, right? So it only covers the most common items or blah, blah, blah. So we don't need to worry about all those things. So what do you want to call this package name? Basically the project name. Okay, so project name, again, I'm fine with the first server program. So I will just hit enter. So version 1.10, so this is fine. So it's a description I'm writing. It's a simple server program. An entry point, meaning because a server program can contain multiple files, it's not just one file there will be. So there can be multiple files, multiple folders, all those things, which is the entry point to your project, right? There should always be some entry point. So I will write it as an app.js. That will be my entry point. Otherwise, it will take index.js file. Okay, and do you want to have any test commands? I don't need to worry about this. No Git repository, no keywords. Author, you can write your own names. Okay, no license. So that's it. So observe, it says this is the basic configuration or the basic data. And is this okay? It says. So if you're okay, you can hit enter and it should give you a package.json file here. Okay, so I will close this and click on this package.json file. This is what you have about your project right now. Okay, so I will simply have a simple file here, a simple text file here for your theory. Okay, like basically the things that we have covered as theoretical part. Okay, I will just write it as theory.txt. So I want to guide, I will write down package.json. So what is this file for? So I want you guys to remember that this file will track of all the packages. Okay, so this file will track all the packages that you install. Okay, I want you guys to remember this. Also, and it also includes scripts. Includes scripts to run application in various modes. Okay, we will definitely discuss that as well. Okay, of course, you can also have some configuration things. Okay, for now, this much is more than fine. Clear? So every Node.js program that you write, every backend program that you are going to write in Node.js needs to have a file called as package.json file. And this package.json file will track all the packages that you install to write your backend program. Okay, and it also includes scripts to run your app in various modes. It can be in developer mode or a production mode or a test mode. So there are lots of modes how you run your project, and the three main ones are the development, production, and testing ones. Okay, so and in order to trigger those modes, you can have scripts here. Okay, so and the packages itself. Okay. Okay. So let's move on. The next thing is I want to have my app.js file. I have written here that app is my starting point of my entire backend application. Okay. So I will click here and create a file here called as app.js. Okay. So the thing is, I'm going to create my server program using Node.js. Basically, it's JavaScript. Okay, which executes Node.js basically executes JavaScript. But JavaScript, it has lots of packages to write server programs. Like you need to deal with HTTP, you need to deal with URLs, you need to deal with the database. There are lots of things that you need to deal with when it comes to server, right? In front end, you will have different types of packages. In back end, you will have different types of packages, right? The same way, in order to make our server-side programming so much easier, we are going to use something called as Express. Okay, so I want to remember this as well. Okay, so an Express is nothing but a framework. Okay, it's a framework, meaning every framework has a specific design of writing a, a specific pattern of implementing any logic you want. Okay, like if I want to implement a server program, it has a specific design how you need to implement it and all. Okay, so Express has a very specific design pattern itself. Okay, and this is the most used framework with the Node.js. Okay, so Express is a framework to write Node.js programs, Node.js server programs. Clear? Okay, so under the hood, it's nothing but JavaScript. It gets executed by Node.js. That's it. It's not a new language. Under the hood, it's all simply JavaScript. Clear? Okay, so now I'm going to directly start with the Express itself. I don't want to write hard-coded values or a hard-coded server program. I want to use Express from the beginning itself. I don't want to waste time. Okay, I will give you guys the homework. There are lots of programs written just in Node.js, which you can find in internet. Okay, so I'm directly going to use a framework, Express. Okay, so now where do we get this framework from? Right, it definitely won't come within the Node.js itself. Node.js won't know the rules and regulations of the Express framework, how it is implemented and all. So it's a third-party library. Okay, you need to install it. Okay, so whenever you want to install a package or a module, you already know it. In React also, you have already installed many libraries and packages, right? Let's clear this out. Okay, so in order to install a package or a module, what do we do? So we will say npm I, you can write Express. Okay, so this will basically install Express. And before installing, I also want to, while installing, I want to visit this website of the Express. Okay, let's just visit Express website. So it says Express as a fast, unopinionated. Okay, let's discuss about this later. And it's very minimalistic. And it's a web framework for Node.js. It will be run by Node.js. Clear? So the first thing, if you want to get started with the Express, is you need to install this Express package. All right. Okay, so let's just worry about that. I think it has been installed. And how will you know this has been installed? You can check your package.json file, right? And if you see it here, it clearly says dependencies. And the first dependency that we have installed is Express. Okay, so dependency meaning your program basically depends on this Express code. Okay, and observe here you have got a new package or a package log.json file. Don't worry about this. And you have got one more folder called as node modules, and it contains all the packages, Express and everything. Okay, so if you inspect this, you will definitely find Express as well. See here, so you have the Express package here. Okay. Okay, so every single package that you install will be saved here, and the actual package itself will reside in the node modules folder. This contains all the library. Clear? Okay, so I will close this, and my app is the entry point, and I want to create server program using Express, right? So the first thing that we need to do is we need to require or like import the Express package, right? So as we do it in React itself, right? We will try to import that whatever we have installed, and we will try to work with it, right? So const Express equals to, you can say require and then Express. Okay, so this is simple JavaScript way of importing. You can also use this, but you have to convert this to a module type of thing. Import Express from Express. You can do this as well. But the thing is, we will not work like this for some time. Okay, so this is the regular JavaScript way of importing. We are going to use this. And the second one is the modular way. Okay, we will discuss that later on. For now, we are going to have a variable called as express. The value will be coming from the requiring the express package. Clear? Okay, so once you require this express, the thing that we do here is we will derive another variable called as app by executing this express, whatever this is. It's usually a function that we have required. And as soon as you execute this, you'll get a variable called as app. Okay, this is the standard name that we give. Whenever you execute express, we will derive a variable called as app. It's nothing but a big object. It contains lots of uh, functions and properties that will help us in creating server programs. Okay, so that's it. Now we will leave out the express. We will only use this app to write our server program. Okay, so let's come back here, and every server program runs in a port. All right, so you might I will just go back to the picture here. Okay, so whenever you try to access a server, whenever you try to contact to a server by sending requests, it will all happen in a particular port, because there are lots of applications running in internet in a particular computer. Every server program will run in some kind of port. Okay, it needs to run in a port. Okay, specific port, because one computer, in one computer you can have multiple programs running, and every single program can run in their own ports. Clear? So we need to define another variable here called as port, and let's say 3000. It's usually in the multiples of thousands. You can do it in any ways. So 3000, 4000, 4050, anything is fine. Okay, so a port. Clear? Okay, so finally, we will write a simple code snippet here called as app.listen, and then we will write the port, okay, variable, and I'm going to write a simple arrow function here, and I'm going to log saying backtick server program running on the port value. Okay, this is simple JavaScript. I'm not writing anything. Okay, just observe this program once. I have an app variable derived from the express package, which is being executed as a function here, and it gives us an app variable, right? Through that app variable, I'm trying to access a method called as listen, right? And I'm passing the port where it should listen. What will it listen to? It actually listens to a request, right, from the client. And that's it. So it has successfully started listening on the port 3000. And if it is successfully listening, this function is nothing but a simple callback function. You don't even have to write this. It's an optional one. You can take this down as well. You can just simply keep this, or you can have this. Both are fine. If you want to know that our port is running properly, you can leave this log like this. Okay, so let's just save it. Okay, and open the terminal. Okay, so who runs our server program now? Can anybody say?
Express.
Express. Who will run our server program? Like app.js contains a server program, right? So now who will run this? How do I execute it? Namrata, can you try?
NodeJS.
Yes. So Node.js is going to execute this app.js file, right? So let me just minimize this. Okay. So you have to type, how do you trigger Node? You have to write Node. This is what is going to execute the app.js file, and we have to provide the app.js file to it. If I just hit tab, it will automatically take app.js file and hit enter, and observe we got the log here saying server is running on the port 3000. right? So observe here, this command is not terminated yet, right? It's still running. This command prompt is active now because a server program is always active. It's always listening to a request coming from any users, from client, right? So Facebook server is always live. YouTube server is always live. Google server is always live. That's why whenever you wake up and send some request, it will automatically respond back, right? The same way, a server program that you have created is running. It's live. It's waiting for the requests, all right? Now, the thing is, you know how to run a server, how to kickstart a server, right? And in a particular port. But the thing is, now you need to know how to handle the response. Sorry, how to handle the request. All right. So if you have already worked with the front ends, like sending HTTP requests through React, you might be knowing there are multiple types of request, right? So what types of requests are there? Can anybody say? What are the requests that you will have? Types of requests. So you will have GET request, POST request, and then uh, update request and delete request. There are multiple things. So I'm just writing down the CRUD here. Okay. So when I say that you should listen to a particular request and respond back, you should know what type of request will be coming as well. And for every type of request, you need to respond in a different way. All right. So now come back here. So that's what we call usually as routing. Okay, I will definitely talk about this again. Don't worry about this. Routing basically means responding to different requests. Okay, so like it can be a GET request, POST request, update request, delete request. Even in the GET request itself, you might have some photo, you might have some HTML page, you might just ask for a JavaScript page, right? So there are lots of GET requests that you can make, different GET requests. And for every type of request, you'll try to respond in a different way. And that is what we call it as routing. And definitely there is a routing in client side as well, right? So for different routes, you'll try to render a different page. You have already worked with that, right? So the same way for different routes, you will try to send a different response, and that is server side routing. Okay, there are conflicts. There can be conflicts between server side and client side routing. Okay, we will deal with them as well in the future. Okay, so now let's just write. So let's say it's the root route. Okay, app.get. As soon as someone visits your website, that is a root, right? So I'll just finish this program. Okay, so I have the codium here. So this is what is giving me auto completion. This is the AI thing that helps me, intelligent one. It helps me write this code faster. Okay, you can have it as well. But for the beginner's perspective, I recommend that don't use this codium when you are trying to learn. Okay, you can use it later on. Now, observe this code. Okay, so the app has a method called as get method, right? So this app also had a method called as listen, right? So this app is derived from Express. So meaning we are writing our entire server program just using the Express code itself. It's not a regular JavaScript step-by-step that we have created. We are using this package's capabilities, right? So this app has a method called as get. It basically listens to the get request itself. Okay, any request which is get will be listened here as well. But the thing is, the get request with the URL of root route. This basically means the original root route. Okay, if a request is just the root, then there is a function here. This is again the callback function. As soon as some route is hit with this of a type get, this function is going to be executed. Okay, and this function by default gets two objects, a request object and a response object. I know this is getting a bit too much for the first class itself. I will wrap it up in a proper way. Don't need to worry. Okay, so every function that is written to handle a particular request is usually called as a route handler. Okay, I will just write it down here. A route handler function. Okay, so this function that you are seeing here, okay, is trying to handle a particular route. That's why we call it as a route handler function. And this route handler function will by default get two objects. The first one is always the request. The second one is always the response. You don't have to mention request and response itself. You can name it as X, Y, Z, anything you want. But the order is important. The first one is the request. The second one is the response object. Right? This will help us anything that you want to access from about the request information that will be available in the request object. If you want to send a response, then you can use this variable to send a response, right? Here we are trying to use this variable to send the response. Res, there is a method called as send on this res object, and we're simply saying hello world. Clear? I'm going to save it. Okay, so now how do I check this? How do I send the request to our server? Can anybody say it? So who sends request to our server? Vilasha? Who sends request to our server?
Client web server.
Yes, a client, basically a client. So a client is nothing but a simple browser, right? So let's just open a simple browser. Okay, come back here and I will try to type. Okay, so the thing is, when I run my program, okay, when I run my server program, it is running in my local machine, right? And when you enter the browser here, the URL, right? So it will try to access a particular server IP address, right? So my computer's IP address, if you want to use it, it's simply localhost. You can simply write localhost, right? So this is how you can access your local server's address. Okay, this is the standard one. Or you can also simply write 127.0.0.1. This is the standard localhost address. IP address. Okay. And then you have to have the colon and the port number. That's it. Okay. So in order to send a request to your server program, which is running in your local machine, the thing that you need to do is first you have to write the local machine's IP address, which is 127.0.0.1, and in which port is your program running in. So we have defined it that it's running in 3000. So mention that as well. And if it and hit enter, so it says it cannot get the route, this particular route. Okay, so we have handled it, right? We have handled that here, but for some reason it cannot handle it. The thing is, when we ran our program, right? When we started our server program, we didn't have this. It's a new code, right? It needs to understand this as well, right? So we need to quit our server again. So let's quit this. You can quit your server by pressing Control plus C. You guys can write it down. So it's Control C. It will quit your server and try to execute your app file again. Okay. So now come back here and try to hit refresh. You have the hello world. Here. So you can definitely have many things here. Like you can, this is simple root one, right? Let's say you wanted to, let's say you are trying to uh, define a sim product like a Amazon website or something, right? You might have lots of products. So then you can say app.get if you want to access all your products, right? You can say products. And then you can simply send, sorry. So it's again a request response, a route handler function. It will by default get request response objects. All right. So observe this. So it's app.get, but the route is /products. Okay. Now we are trying to access the products page. Sorry, nothing but a simple products resource, right? So you can simply say res.send and say this is product page. Okay, now save it and come back here and / before it was this, right? And now it is / products. But the thing is, it should not work even now, right? Why not? Because we need to quit the server and we need to start it again. Okay, so let's start it again and come back here and put a refresh. Okay, I think I might have products. Okay, I misspelled it. Okay, so it says this is product page. Clear? So that's it. This is a simple server program. Okay, I will just make your life, I will just try to introduce one more simple tool, which is very essential. The thing is, we will try to keep editing our code, right? We will try to keep do a lot of changes in our program, and every time we do changes, I don't want to quit my server and restart it. I want this to be happening automatically, right? So for that, I'm going to install a simple file, a simple package called as NodeMon. Okay, so if you want to install a package, you have to say npm I NodeMon. So this is a package which will listen to all the changes that you make and restarts the server. If there is any changes, when you save this file, if there is any changes, then it will try to reload your server. Okay, so but the thing is, NodeMon won't give you any code. It's just a simple developer helping tool, right? So I will save it as a developer dependency, save dev. Okay, so it's a developer dependency. There are two types of dependencies. One is regular dependencies, which will be imported as a code here, like this express is used in our code base. There is another tools or packages which will just help developers, but it will not be used as code like the NodeMon here. Okay, so we hit enter and observe our uh, package.json file here. Okay, so now we have a developer dependency here called as NodeMon. Okay, so now if you want to run that, run your Node.js with the help of NodeMon, you have to create a script. Okay, of course you can run it without the script as well, but it will be more useful if you create a simple script. Okay, so every script to run your program starts with a particular name to it. So you can write start. Okay, so now write the start here and you can simply come back here and edit this. Okay, so write NodeMon and entry point is the app.js. Okay, so what is this script is for? This script is for running our app or running our Node.js project with the help of NodeMon. Okay, so let's open our terminal. Okay, I will clear this. And in order to run this program, now I just have to start this script. Okay, if you want to start a script, the thing that you do is you will try to call your npm run node package manager, run the script called as start. Okay, so you can have multiple types of scripts here. Okay, for production level, you might have a different script. For testing, you might have a different script. Okay, so you can simply write npm run start, npm run start production, npm run start dev, something like that. Okay, so I might make it as npm start dev. Okay, so I'll simply call it as npm start dev here, and it simply says developer mode. We are in the development stage, right? And hit enter. So it says we don't have it. Of course, I have not saved it. So I want to save this as well. And let's run it here. So observe here, as soon as we started this, it started NodeMon app.js. It simply started our server. All right. The difference now is I can create another route here. Okay, I'll try to create another route here and I will call it as cart. Okay, app.get. And then I'll try to add a cart page here. Okay, I'll try to say this is a card page. Okay, the thing is I have not saved here yet. Observe the white dot here, but observe carefully what happens here at the bottom as soon as I save it. Okay, I will hit Control S. So it restarted the server. It even said here, I'm going to restart it because there's some changes. And it started again, node app.js, right? And our server is running again, and you can simply access cart here. This is cart page. Clear? So we'll just try to wrap up the entire class here. Okay, and the first day itself, I know this is a bit too much, but I will try to wrap up here. Okay, any doubts up until here? Anybody has any doubts? If no, you can say no answer.
No.
No doubts? Kavya, any doubt?
No, sir.
Shamila, any doubts? Okay, so I will just wrap it up. Okay. Okay, so the first thing is we discuss who owns a backend dev, what exactly he does, right? So I want you guys to answer this yourself. And so what is a server, right? And what is a server program? Okay, so which is the programming we are using to write server program, right? So which is the program that is executing JS, right? And which is the package that is helping us to create subprograms more efficiently. Okay, so all these things you need to know very well. Clear? So for this, a server is simply a machine connected in internet, right? That's it. Any computer that is connected in internet, which is ready to interact with other computers, right? And what is a program? A server program. Server program basically listens for the request coming in, and then it will try to send a response back. And it will interact with the database if needed. And the language that we are going to use to write this program is JavaScript. And the program that is executing JavaScript is the NodeJS right now. And the package that is helping us to create server programs in a more efficiently is the Express. Okay. And package.json file is the file that we will create before starting any Node.js code or Node.js program, right? So we'll try to have this package.json file by writing the command npm init. All right. So this will try to create the package.json file. And this package.json file will track all the packages that we install, like the here, right? We have installed Express, we have installed NodeMon, right? It keeps track of them. Okay. And it also includes scripts, like what type of execution mode you want, and some configuration things as well, like a linting configuration and all you can write down here. Okay. Okay, so finally we used Express as well. So first file that we have created is the app.js file. And what does this node modules folder contain? It contains the actual packages. It resides here. All the Express, the NodeMon, everything resides in the node modules. And the app.js, right? We are going to write our server program here, but with the help of Express. So we required it and we executed this Express. We got a variable called as app, which will help us in routing, which will help us in listening, basically starting a server, right? And listening in a particular port. right? All these things are basically as routing. For every single route, you will try to send a response with the help of a function. And this function get access to request object and the response object. With the help of response object, we are trying to send the request. If you want to access the request, like what is there in the request, we are not trying to analyze the request here. We are simply sending response, right? If a particular route is this, just send this. If a particular route this, just send this response. That's what we are doing here. But sometimes you need to go and look it up in the request what they have asked, what is there, and then you want to send particular response, right? Then you can use the request object. Clear? And these functions are called as route handler functions. Clear? That's it. And we will see you guys tomorrow. And every single class will be uploaded in um, YouTube called as Coding Jagattu. There you guys can access this as well. Okay. Any doubts?
No, sir.
Okay. And I definitely want feedbacks, like if the class goes a bit faster, if it is slow, do let me know in advance. Okay, it's just the first class, and if you guys let me know in advance, I will go through go according to it. Okay. Okay, so see you guys tomorrow then. And the homework for you guys is I want you guys to not use Express and run a server. Create a server and try to have some routes like this. Okay, so basically do everything here that we have done. Okay, so use not without using Express. Okay, you can take the help of ChatGPT, or you will definitely find lots of programs that is just written without the help of Express, and how hard it is, you will get to know. Okay, so that is the homework. So see you guys tomorrow then. Good night. Take care.